Welcome back to Better Than Before, and it's time for this week's business and leadership lesson. It's going to be a relatively short one, but I think kind of a positive and powerful one to share with you, and it's all about cleansing. Lately, I've been doing some of this at my house. I've been throwing stuff away. Back in spring break, which was the last week of March, I had a water line bust at my house to my washer, and it ran down into the storage area of my basement area where I had stored probably 30 years worth of stuff that I've moved from state to state and town to town. And some of those boxes I probably haven't opened since the 80s. So I had to move all those boxes out to keep them from getting damaged. Since the last week of March, right up until this past weekend, I've been opening those boxes and going through those things and throwing the old cardboard boxes away because they either got wet or maybe I just need to throw them away, and keeping the stuff I really want to keep, but cleansing our lives of the things that I've just been carrying around that I really don't need to keep anymore. And every weekend, I make a couple of trips to the dumpster. I'll throw the old boxes away and or some garbage bags full of stuff that we just really don't need to be keeping around. And our lives get to be that way too. We have things in our lives that just keep hanging around and we just keep holding on to them. And when you do a good thorough cleansing, you get rid of stuff, right? And so sometimes we need to take a look at our lives and do a cleansing with our lives. So I've got a couple of points here to share with you that might help you with some thoughts about how to do that. Number one, review your list of projects or the things that you did in 2018. You know, they might be irrelevant. They may not matter anymore. It may just be a habit that you're continuing to do it. How many of us have magazines that we just keep renewing the subscription to that we haven't even read for a long time? They just sit around the house. We put them on the coffee table. They gather dust, or we stack them up in a magazine rack in a corner. And, you know, even with today's technology of email and online, we still get a high amount of paper type things in the mail, when perhaps maybe all we really need to do is cancel that subscription or not renew, or maybe send a little note to somebody, hey, I don't want to get this anymore, or I don't want to receive this anymore. Things that are just kind of gathering dust that we're just kind of doing. And it might save you some money too. I mean, if you're continuing to subscribe to a magazine that you don't even read, I mean, that's just kind of money flying out the door, and they're stacking up in your house that you're eventually going to have to pitch or throw away. So get rid of all that stuff, all those periodicals or magazines or whatever it is that comes to you, or just projects or things that you've been working on and saying, hey, this is going to be my last year of doing that. I'm not carrying that into my life into 2019. Number two, what can you delegate to other people? What are some things that you don't have to do yourself anymore? And I'm talking about external people who can help you do low-value things, but they're things that need to be done. You're just still doing them through force of habit. I'm on the road quite a bit. I travel quite a bit. I work with a lot of clients, and so I spend a lot of my time working, because that's how my wife and I, who's my partner in the business, that's how we provide for our family. Sometimes there's not a lot of time left over, and when there is time to be left over, I want to spend that time doing things with her or doing things that I enjoy. And so I decided a couple years ago to delegate the lawn care at my house to a lawn service. Yeah, it cost me a couple $100 a month, but I could be doing an activity instead of mowing my lawn of where I could make more than $200 a month. I can do the activity at work to pay for the lawn service and have that time as free then. So I can have a nice, pretty lawn and, live in a nice neighborhood, so my neighbors would not be happy if I let my lawn go. So I delegated it to a lawn service, and my, leaves get raked, my lawn gets cut, my sprinklers get maintained, and all of that stuff that would be very low value for me to do myself. There may be some things that you're still doing, and I talk to CEOs and executive vice presidents about this all the time. They're still doing stuff that they need to delegate to somebody else because they could be doing a higher value activity because they're being compensated well to do high value activities, not low value activities. So you want to examine those things that you're doing to make sure that if there's something you can get somebody else to do and you can come out on the value equation with it, that would be beneficial. Number 3, think about your obligations. What have you obligated yourself to? A problem here is that people will say yes to too many things because they either have a strong desire in their heart to be helpful, they have a strong desire in their heart to solve other people's issues and problems, and so they're always willing to help out, they're always willing to lend a helping hand, which is good to a certain extent, but you can overextend yourself and you can obligate yourself to too much. And then you have competing commitments, which can seriously stress you out. So the question then is, have you been of service enough? Do you need to move on to something else? Do you need to cut back on your commitments and things that you have done for the last 5 or 10 years and turn those things over to somebody else? Give them an opportunity to serve in that area so that you can either have that time back to put into another useful way, or give somebody else, an opportunity to get in there and do something so you can go do something else. So take a look at your obligations. What have you committed yourself to that you need to review and see if you need to continue doing that in 2019? Number 4, and this is sort of goes along to the delegation things, but have you obligated to something that perhaps somebody else can do that you don't necessarily have to do? So give yourself a shift in focus and consider cleansing your life and creating some opportunities for your career, for your personal time, for your marriage, for your significant relationship, and so on. And you should ask if you're learning and growing by making this investment in time. What's it doing for you? What need is it meeting for you? Because listen, I know this for a fact. People will get their own needs met. So if something is a strong need for you, you will get that need met in some way, right? It's why marriages have affairs. It's why marriages split up, because human beings will get their need met one way or another. And if they're not getting their need met, they will get it met somehow, some way, which can lead to trouble. And the way it can lead to trouble outside of that particular example is that you need to feel of service, or you need to feel that you're helping, or you need to feel active. You need to feel that you're contributing. But after a while, you stop learning and you stop growing from that experience, and perhaps you need to move on to where you aren't just giving. It's a two-way equation. You're also receiving some benefits out of it as well. Every year, you need to get rid of some stuff. And a friend of mine told me a long time ago, and my wife really bought into this, and that is, if you don't create space in your life, there's no room for anything new to come in. So especially where our house is concerned, right? If we don't get rid of some of the stuff in our house, we don't have any space for other stuff. And we all enjoy bringing some new stuff in from time to time. So the lesson today is, what can you cleanse from your life? What obligations do you have that you can get rid of to create space for new obligations? What projects do you need to get rid of so you create space for new projects? What relationships do you need to get rid of so you can create space for new relationships? That's my lesson for you today. I hope you found it helpful. Until I see you next time, everything gets better when you get better.
Thank you for listening to Better Than Before with Tony Richards, a business leaders podcast powered by Clear Vision Development Group. For more resources from Tony, visit clearvisiondevelopment.com. Join us next time for another episode of Better Than Before with Tony Richards.